Happy October, everybody. I'm Cadenza, and this is A Garden of Impossible Objects. This is a small visual novel made by a solo developer named Skyshard and released in September 2025, which is in fact just last month at time of recording. It's a very new game. This kind of thing seems to be Skyshard's specialty, making small, compact, really focused narrative games, that sort of thing. Seems to be their wheelhouse. And this one in particular was made as a submission for Velox Fabula 3, which was a game jam that ran last month, focused on making a complete visual novel based on a community-chosen theme in the span of 10 days. The theme for this jam was a sentient city or setting, and they chose to interpret that in a really interesting way. You'll see as we go on. And they also actually won this game jam, so congrats to Skyshard. Well deserved, in my opinion. I kind of discovered this game randomly. I was just checking the front page of itch.io a few days ago, as one does, seeing if I saw anything that looked interesting, and this game caught my eye, so I decided to give it a shot, and now here we are, I say as I bump my desk. Don't worry about it. The thing that stood out most to me about this game, besides the writing, which we'll get into, but the thing that stood out most was the art style. It's really striking. There's this really cool mix of like actual photographs that the artist took and then heavily altered, but it's also like overlaid with some abstract, almost impressionistic, a little bit digital painting stuff. It's a really cool mix that I don't know that I've seen very many other examples of in any other media, much less video games. It's really effective. And speaking of really effective and very cool graphical things, check this out. Whoa, you can move the screen with the mouse. That's sick as hell. I'm probably not going to be doing that very often, though. Excuse me. This game was developed in Godot instead of Ren'Py, like a lot of other visual novels are, so naturally it runs at a higher frame rate, and as a result of that, my laptop has a hard time recording footage of it, so I'm probably not going to be doing this sort of thing very often. It probably looks very bad and choppy. So, moving on from that, if at any point this game seems cool or interesting to you, I highly recommend stopping the video and going to play it yourself. You can play it directly in your browser on the game's page, or you can download it for whatever price you want to pay. I think that's more than reasonable. Now, before we begin, I do want to give out some content warnings. This is quoted directly from the game's page. Quote, "Story includes discussions of grief and death. Visuals include body horror, eye contact, and may cause eye strain. There is one very small auditory jump scare." End quote. Now, having said all that, and with this preamble finally out of the way, let's go ahead and get started. The sun was going, and the world was wrong. The grasses were wrong. They were platinum. Their every detail of stem, head, and blade shone lightless and artificially distinct as an art photographer's platinum print. This color has never been seen on Earth. The hues were metallic. Their finish was matte. The hillside was a 19th century tinted photograph from which the tints had faded. All the people you see in the photograph, distinct and detailed as their faces look, are now dead. Such wrote Ann Dillard on the total eclipse that would cross the northern border of the United States on February 26, 1979. A path of totality would not cross the mainland states until just over 30 years later, on August 21st, 2017. Mom drove us 9 hours so we could watch it in a Kansas field, standing next to at least 100 other people. You know your aunt lives right where the totality crosses into South Carolina? Sounds too convenient. She laughed. Remind me to call her when we get service again. I forgot to remind Mom. My aunt's name was Carmen. She was my mom's sister, 2 or 3 years her junior. I do not know if she saw the eclipse. She was found dead in her home on August 23rd. They brought in the county's coroner. Carmen died of a heart attack. They gave Mom a range of time over the phone. There were no signs of drugs in her system. She smoked, but not that much. There were no marks on her house, or on her. There were no suggestions that this could happen. There was, put basically, no reason for it at all. I was 15 years old in 2017. Mom was 47. We had to change radio stations 3 times in total, across 12 or so hours of driving. She liked the same music her parents liked. I did not. The car was hot and miserable, as cars tend to be in the middle of August. I could keep going. I don't get it. She groaned quietly. I had probably done the same, but louder, several times over. I had just moved in with your dad when my parents sold their home. I didn't get the chance to take anything. Carmen did. So I asked her, Carmen, can you hold on to these for me? You think she kept them? Of course she did. Do you remember her? I tried to recall a memory. A little bit. I knew her name and nothing else. You'll see when we get there. Carmen lived and died on a plot of land in the northwest corner of South Carolina. The road leading up to her plot was really 2 dirt tracks left seemingly by a small sedan. Mom's car was a bit too large for these tracks, so she drove with one wheel in the dirt and another wheel scraping along the kudzu. The tree cover turned the sky a dark green. That is, until it all fell away. The first thing to strike me about Carmen's place was the yard. At a glance, it was difficult to tell where her house was and all the surroundings. The yard, even just the part of it I could see then, was massive. It was also, somehow, full. It is difficult to explain the whole without understanding the little. Picture with me a wheelbarrow, one of those rusty metal ones your uncle probably had. Now picture it flipped over such that the wheel points towards the sky. But the wheel is missing. It has been replaced with welded metal. Atop the wheelbarrow sits a metal plate. Atop the plate sits maybe 24 mugs. Each has a cactus. Now, recall that we are in South Carolina. If you've never been, imagine breathing in air and finding it to be water instead. Next to the wheelbarrow is a heat lamp. It is not turned on. What is that? What part? I don't know. All of it? Make no mistake, the yard is not full of upside-down wheelbarrows. There are many plants, yes, but it is not wholly a nursery either. The word things does not do the array much justice, but if I only had one to choose from, that is the one I would use. I stand at the edge of a large place filled with many things. She loved her projects. As a kid, she was always making something or other. She never liked to throw them away either. She pulled up a chair, if you could call it that, next to a table, if you could call it that. I pulled up one as well. Look over there. I did. Do you see it? I see bushes. That's her maze. Her what? Her maze. When she was 7 or 8, she would draw mazes on the back of her homework. She'd give them to me and I'd solve them. I think I was too fast sometimes. I took it more seriously than I'd like to admit. So once she gave me one that didn't have a solution. What did you do? I drew one in myself. And she yelled at me. And I yelled back. I watched as she scanned the horizon. Is any of it yours? This? No. Even when we were on our worst terms, she never messed with my stuff. It's probably all in a box inside somewhere. Come on, let me show you the garage. The garage was this long building that ran behind the row of trees blocking off access to the road from this side of the property. It sat low to the ground. I couldn't tell whether Carmen had made it herself or if she had simply modified it to its current state. Mom stood in front of a wooden door placed along its side. Did she keep a key somewhere? She pushed the garage door in. No need for a handle. I'm not sure she even knew how to lock a door. That was just the way she was. The inside of the garage was bright. The ceiling had been carved out and replaced with large window panels. Carmen could have fit 4 or 5 cars in the garage. She only had one in there. There were 3 others parked outside. The rest of the space was both a wood shop and a plant nursery. She might have also done her welding work there. It was hard to tell. Mom stood beside an improbably shaped wooden cylinder. The cylinder stood at about my height. It was a little skinnier. On the cylinder's surface were 1,000 or more little marks. Some were carved out, others were burned in. What do you think of it? Me? Yeah, you. What do you think? I don't know. I guess I don't really get it. It's not bad? A very polite answer. I remember when Carmen took her first art class in high school. She had avoided it throughout all of middle school before then. I told her, you'd be great at it. Come on, give it a try. And she did. And she hated it. Maybe more than anything else in the world. For a little while at least. She was stubborn and chose to fail the class trying. It's okay. You can call it ugly. She wouldn't mind, I promise. She laughed, and I found myself laughing too. It is kind of ugly. We spent a little more time looking around for Mom's things. There was less space to check than you might expect. You don't think they're in here, do you? She was standing over a box full of scrap wood. Probably not. I remember standing next to Mom as she fiddled with the key to unlock the front door. Carmen didn't do locks, but following her death, someone had put one there. I'm not entirely sure who. For nearly a whole day before leaving, Mom was on the phone. I don't know who she was talking to. I didn't listen in. Mom got the door open. Are you okay? Me? Yeah, I'm fine. Let me get a few things straight. Carmen was no longer here. She had been moved out of the house immediately after her discovery. She was, at that point, in line at the crematorium. Mom told me on the way here that they removed her bed and disinfected her room. Otherwise, everything was left as it was. You sure? I think so. I was a little scared. I didn't remember much about Dad, but I did remember that smell. That was what I was afraid of. The smell. To my luck, there wasn't one. Not, at least, one like that. The front door of Carmen's house opened up to the kitchen on the left and the dining room on the right. Just past the dining room was a sliding door to the living room. I guess it shouldn't have surprised me to see at least 24 candles in various stages of being burnt, scattered throughout, well, all of it. There were a lot of things in a lot of places that could have grabbed my attention. The thing that did it was a large stone mask leaning against the mantel. Its hollow eyes stared up towards nothing. The walls were covered in green floral wallpaper. The house creaked and hawed as we walked back and forth. Mom didn't seem to mind. All of Carmen's mail was still on the kitchen countertop. I didn't want to touch anything in that house, but I was fine with looking. Who's Ryan? Ryan? His name was all over Carmen's mail. Unlike me, Mom did not have a problem with touching her things. She picked up the letters and started paging through them. Most, if not all, were addressed to Ryan. I don't know. She went through each letter again, just to make sure. Mom looked at me for directions. Your stuff? Right. Halfway down the main hall of the house was the door to the basement. It's probably down there. She did not go down there. Not at first. Mom checked each of the other rooms, just to be sure. Nothing more than a moment for each. She would open the door to take a peek, then close it right after. She skipped Carmen's room. I waited until she was done. All clear? Oh, shut it. A little yellow light hung in front of my face just past the door. The stairs curled back in on themselves on the way down. I flipped a switch. The first surprise was how bright the lights were. Fluorescent bars covered long stretches of the ceiling. The second surprise was the streamers. All over the everything were these purple, papery streamers. They had a tissue-like texture. 7 or 8 party hats sat on a ping pong table that had been pushed up against the wall. I would not have been surprised to find a half-eaten cake somewhere with them, but there was none. There were more than a few empty plastic cups, though, for whatever it's worth. You didn't tell me she liked to party. Can you please be quiet? Why? We're not sneaking around, are we? There were boxes down there. Many of them. They came in stacks. Help me take those down. I didn't argue. She would open each and try to remember what she was looking for. I took one box down and it was light. When Mom opened it up, I saw even more streamers inside. I might have laughed. I watched as her patience seemed to wear. We went through every box in that basement. I don't get it. She sat on the concrete floor. I didn't. What if she threw it away? No, that's not right. She wouldn't do that. That's not her. What if it was? I'm going upstairs. I think I was ready to leave. Mom stood in front of the bedroom door. I stood on the other end of the house. I could see her open the door. I wasn't scared. Why was I scared? The house was just a house. This much I was almost sure of. I saw her step into the room. Everything okay? Hello? Mom? She stood in that opening and did nothing else. Mom did not call out to me. She never said a word. I started down the hallway. What's wrong? I was somewhere in the middle when the door slammed behind Mom. Leave me alone. Please. Leave me alone. What are you doing in there? I'm not doing anything. Then get out of there. I hadn't thought about my phone until this point. I pulled it out and started dialing before I even knew who to ask, or for what. The door creaked open and slammed into the wall. Mom rushed past me. I grabbed onto her jacket. Mom! Mom? It's in the maze. Carmen. She hid everything in her maze. She grabbed her jacket back. Maybe I let her go, too. And then Mom ran away. I was left alone. I wanted to yell at her. I could not bear to see her. I leaned against the wall. The door was still half open. A slam had left a mark on the wall. I looked through the gap. There was nothing there. The bedroom was entirely empty. I closed the door. I needed to find Mom. The sky had turned, and with it went the whole property. The yard of junk became a garden of impossible objects. The maze of hedges had, under the violet sky, become a labyrinth. Mom did not stand at the labyrinth's mouth. She had run straight in. Everything moved, but the air was entirely still. Was I there too, at the jaws of the labyrinth? I think I was. The bramble was enough to cover the whole world. The orchestra played at a distance. There were no birds in the sky. And yet, even in hell there were surprises. I saw a skeleton hanging from the trees. It was a fair bit taller than me. It was also made of plastic. When I hit my knuckles against a femur, it made a hollow sound. I could hear Carmen laughing at me. If Mom were with me, she'd explain how Carmen would play pranks on her when they were kids. She'd tell me about a time Carmen had pulled a prank on her as a kid. Maybe Carmen had even recorded it. Remind me later. I need to look up and see if I can find the video. And you'd forget. Don't worry. She would too. I found Mom bent up against a bush, digging her head into the ground. Mom? She couldn't hear me. Mom! What? The word left her mouth in a mangled snarl. She didn't even turn towards me. I think it's time to go. What would you know about that? What would you know about anything? I'm not ready to go. I still can't find my things. Do you really think they're here? Of course I do. No, you don't. You're lying. Come on. I wouldn't lie to you. Then let's get out of here. It's cold, Mom. There's a jacket in the car if you need one. I don't need a jacket. I'm worried about you. But I can see her. I can see something. She went back to digging her head into the ground. She's in there. Her pupils eclipsed the sun of her eyes. She can hear me. I know it. I really do. It took a few minutes' silence. Mom didn't say anything when she was ready. I helped her get back on her feet. We walked out of the maze together. I sat with Mom on a hill overlooking the yard. From here, you could see how small the maze really was. Just above the maze, you could also see the sunrise. I turned to Mom. Her face had gotten scratched up pretty badly in the bushes. I could tell that she was trying not to meet my eyes. It's okay. She thought about it for a moment. I don't think it is. I shouldn't have taken you out here. I probably shouldn't have gone either. She paused again. I'm sorry. I didn't respond. Do you think she's still there? No, I don't think so. I don't think it's good to believe in ghosts either. Look at what that did to you. Maybe you have a point. I just can't square it. She put so much of herself into this place. When I slam the door, I feel like I'm slamming it on her. like she can hear every time I raise my voice. But then if that's true, why can't she say anything back? Why can she only listen? Why can't she ever say anything back? It'd take me a long time to understand what Mom was talking about then. I wanted so badly to argue with her. I wanted to bring up Dad and to tell her that he wasn't listening. But I held my tongue, more for my sake than for hers. What's going to happen with everything? I'm not sure. I guess it won't be long until the yard is emptied. Some of it's just trash, you know? Maybe someone will find a use for something. I don't think I'm taking anything home. I tried to imagine it. The yard without its things. The garage without its greenhouse ceiling. The house with someone else inside. The brambles without their maze. I could not imagine any of it without her. Thank you for watching, everybody. I'll see you in the next one.